My studio is in the north of Paris. It is an old building, an old factory where there are also other artists working. During the lockdown, I was in Paris, confined to my apartment with my husband and my 5-year-old daughters. They are twins, and it is a very small apartment. And I was too busy because of all of the household tasks and their homework and all the taking care of them and so on. So it was very challenging. And because in Paris we live in tiny apartments and we are used to be all the time in the street, in the studio, in the museums or in the parks, but not at home all the time. So it was very difficult. And also because I really need to be alone at least some hours per day, and it was impossible. That was really challenging, and I agree with Virginia Woolf when she says that to create you need to have a room of your own. In the beginning of the lockdown, I came just a couple of times to my studio, and I walked along the distance between my home and the studio, and I really had to paint these images because, well, this is a version of the painting Puberty by Munch, and for me it was a good description of what we were living as a society, like a moment of transition, of vulnerability, full of depths, full of changes. And well, I thought a lot also about people who were alone, at home. So maybe it can have many different readings. And also I started this painting. I found this image in internet, and it's a painting with two young ladies lying on a couch or on bed, and for me it is like the idea of the end of a party, the end of the party that the capitalist occidental world was having, and also it can be the fact of being shut in a room at home. Also it can represent that. This is so close in time that I don't know yet, but for sure this situation, I think it made me more free. I think I have to paint what I want to paint, what I need to paint, and yes, that's it. In this show we can see different paintings. Well, some of them were made before the lockdown, some of them after the lockdown. And in my work there is always a mix of different subjects. So for instance, the condition of human being as a woman, the history of art, history of painting, the mystery of beauty. So all of that is in my body of work. Most of the time I let the images appear by chance. I take photos myself, but I also find some images in books or internet, and suddenly there is a strong feeling of empathy that makes me really want to paint an image. And sometimes I also let the process of painting like change the image, or other times that I mix different photos, different images, like Frankenstein. Usually one image leads me to another. I always paint several paintings simultaneously, and I can be painting a portrait of a friend of mine, and at the same time a portrait of Sylvia Plath or Camille Claudel, and they live together in my studio. And it doesn't matter if they are dead or alive, if they are from different times. So yes, and I also paint these women because to honor them, because they opened so many doors, and I feel so grateful because of that. And also because they are not perfect, and I like that, the fact that they are vulnerable, and I feel they are part of me. We are all the same, and I learn from them, and I used to call them my elder sisters. I think this is the way I see reality, as if we were living in a quantic soup. I do not see lines. I see the air that envelopes things. So also, since I was a child, I had this idea that maybe we're living in a dream, that reality was a dream. But about technique, it began when I tried to paint like in the 19th century, and I wanted to paint the skin and the air, and I had to paint with different thin layers of oil, and but mostly because I want more than paint the physical aspect. I want to approach the essence of things, like the essence of reality, the soul of reality. And well, anyway, we paint the way we can, so I can't change that. The choice of colors is something natural. It is innate. You paint with the colors that you like, but it's true that they are usually like pinky colors, pastels, and which are considered like feminine colors. So I decided not to be ashamed of them, and reclaim the right to use this palette, and so use this like with a feminist point of view. The scale of paintings depends on many different things, like for instance having the space or having the energy, but also, well, for instance, sometimes a small painting can be more powerful in terms of intimacy or doing like a little jewel. But and about eroticism, I think yes, it is very important to me, because good art has to be erotic, with the idea that the experience in front of a work of art, it comes always before, it comes through our senses. So first it is like a physical reaction, and later on there is this mental or intellectual aspect. So eroticism can be also can happen also in an abstract painting, depending on the way we use the colors or the gestures. So eroticism is very vast, and I like also to play with subtleties, like painting like a vulnerable image with a very strong gaze. It can work. Erotic and spiritual can be connected. They are not opposed at all. And a painting can talk about many different subjects at the same time, like those matrioskas, the Russian dolls that contain one smaller doll inside. And eroticism, the beauty, the mystery of death and life, the material world, the spiritual world, joy, suffering, all goes together, like light and shadow goes together. So I would like that my paintings would be able to contain all of this and talk about all of this. And the more a painting has multiplied readings, the better it is. First of all, I believe that art history connects different times, and that we learn from each other. We are like a runner who takes the baton and continues the race. And I like also, and I see it also like when a musician musician makes a version of another song. So, well, I learn a lot when I make a version of an older or an ancient painting. I think it's not exactly a tactic, because when I look at the history of art, I have already my own perspective as a woman. So I pay attention to different details, I have my own canon, my own sensibility. So maybe I read the art history in my own way, and I look at the male painters, and then I create my own painting. I studied fine arts at the University of Salamanca in Spain in the 90s, and I also studied at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam in 1995. And at that time, my School of Fine Arts in Spain, it was very much into expressionist painting. And I remember one day I was painting a big canvas on the floor, and a teacher who used to say nothing, he came, he looked at me while I was painting, and he just said, "You are a painter," and he left. And then I said to myself, yes, I am. And since then, I never doubt my condition as a painter. Yes, I had many, but for instance, when I was studying at the Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam in 1995, before the internet era, I discovered that there was a bookstore dedicated to women artists. So I discovered there the work of Cindy Sherman, Anna Mendieta, Kiki Smith, Marina Abramovic, and so on, so many artists, women artists. And that was very liberating, because in Spain most of my teachers were men. So I could find my own voice. They were talking also about gender and subjects that were very close to my sensibility. So it was very, very helpful. And but also going to the museums, visiting the museums like the Prado Museum or the Rijksmuseum, the Louvre, the Musée du Louvre. Really, I had there the highest aesthetical experiences, because above all, I am a painter.